A major publication flew Nic Vansteenberghe to New York, photographed him half naked, shook his hand, and then published a piece suggesting his entire relationship with Olandria is a role he performed because the fandom wanted it. And Nic did not handle that quietly. Now, before you say, okay, but Vulture kinda has a point, no. Before you say, this is just PR, his team told him to post that for the engagement, I'm going to show you why that argument collapses. And if you already saw the Threads post and you think you know the full story, you don't. Because the Threads post is actually the least interesting part of what happened here.
I have the full script in front of me. I have every interview, every receipt, every timeline. And here's the one fact that tells you everything you need to know before we even get into it. Amaya and Bryan won the $100,000. They attended the reunion. 2 days after that reunion aired, they announced the split. The actual winners of Love Island USA Season 7 lasted 6 weeks in the real world. Nic and Olandria, as of right now, are still standing.
In this video, I'm breaking down exactly what Vulture wrote word for word, because the specific language matters. Why Nic's unfiltered Threads response is actually the strongest argument that this relationship is real, and what Olandria said that makes the PR arrangement theory nearly impossible to defend. Let's get into it. A major publication smiled in this man's face, photographed him half naked, and then published an article implying his entire relationship is a performance. And you're sitting here watching this video with your hands in your lap doing absolutely nothing. Like this video. My electricity bill is directly tied to your engagement, and the lights are flickering. Before we get into Nic and Olandria specifically, you need to understand what kind of season this actually was on Peacock, because the numbers tell you something wild was going on. Love Island USA Season 7 premiered on June 3rd, 2025, filmed in a villa in Fiji with Vanderpump Rules veteran Ariana Madix as host. The finale aired on July 13th, 6 weeks later, and by that point, it had become the most watched original show in Peacock's entire history.
NBC Universal's own internal data confirmed 18.4 billion streaming minutes across that 6-week run, which works out to roughly 306 million hours of viewing. Nielsen, the third-party measurement company that tracks TV screen viewing only, not phones or tablets, recorded 5.11 billion minutes on TV sets alone between June 2nd and June 29th, and those numbers climbed every single week. 6 consecutive weeks as the #1 streaming reality title. During the week of June 23rd through the 29th, Love Island USA Season 7 ranked as the second most watched show on all of television, with only Squid Game on Netflix edging it out. Then, the week of the finale, July 7th through the 13th, it claimed the top spot for original streaming shows across the entire country.
On TikTok alone, the show pulled 1.7 billion video views and impressions, a 127% increase compared to Season 6. On Instagram, Facebook, X, and YouTube combined, it generated 2.2 billion social impressions, making it the most talked about entertainment series on television that season. Over half the audience was under 35. Nearly 30% of people tuned in on their phones, and 49% of the Season 7 audience had never watched Love Island before. This show pulled an entirely new generation of viewers into the franchise. And when people talk about what happened with Nic and Olandria, all of that context matters. This was not a small show stumbling onto a sweet couple. This was a full-scale cultural moment, and they were sitting right at the center of it.
Nicholas Marcel Vansteenberghe was born on March 20th, 2001 in Jacksonville, Florida. And the first thing that surprises people about him is what he did before the Fiji villa. His father, Didier Vansteenberghe, works in sales and business development in the aviation industry. His mother, Jennifer Becker Vansteenberghe, is a board-certified physician assistant and diabetes care and education specialist. One younger sister, Ella Vansteenberghe, was studying finance at Florida State University when the show aired.
Nic himself graduated from Florida Atlantic University in Boca Raton in May 2023 with a bachelor's degree in nursing, which means the man who would later go viral on a Peacock dating show had until recently been a registered nurse going to work every day in Jacksonville, Florida, taking care of patients. Modeling had been part of his life since he signed with DT Model Management back in October 2017. And by the time Love Island USA came calling, he had worked with brands including Guess and Prada. Before nursing and modeling, competitive swimming had been a serious part of his story through high school. He trained with the Loggerhead Aquatics team and competed at the Florida High School 3A State Championship meet, representing Bartram Trail High School. About a year and a half before the show, a long-term relationship ended. And instead of staying home in Jacksonville, Nic packed a suitcase and spent roughly a year moving. Milan for 3 months, then Bali, then Australia, living by his own description out of a suitcase and doing anything but being at home. By the time Love Island reached him, he rolled into the Fiji villa on day 1 on a motorcycle. His friend's chosen word for him was feral, and his 5-word self-description was humorous, outgoing, loud, funny, and carefree. He entered coupled with Bella Walker.
Olandria Carthen was born on May 29, 1998 in Decatur, Alabama, the eldest of 6 siblings. And her nickname, Bama Barbie, barely scratches the surface of who she actually is. Her parents were young when they had her, both in 10th grade, and that dynamic shaped the emotionally grounded person she brought into the Love Island USA villa. Tuskegee University followed, where she started in computer science before finishing with a degree in logistics, materials, and supply chain management, making her a first-generation college graduate from a historically Black university. After graduation, she went to work as a salesperson at Otis Elevator Company in Houston, Texas. Not modeling, not social media, just a first-gen graduate building a career in an unglamorous field.
That was her life when Love Island USA Season 7 called. Her casting was announced on May 29, 2025, her own 27th birthday, and she walked into the Fiji villa with 13,100 Instagram followers. A genuinely regular person going on the biggest reality show of the year. 6 weeks later, she walked out with 1.1 million followers, a number that climbed to approximately 2 million by mid-2025. She received media attention throughout the season for discussions of representation, specifically as a dark-skinned Black woman on a mainstream Peacock dating show, and the audience from the very first episode could feel she was not there to perform. She entered the villa coupled with Taylor Williams, a 24-year-old cowboy and model from Oklahoma City, and less than 12 months after her casting announcement, she was front row at Valentino Haute Couture Week in Paris. If you just found out this woman went from selling elevators at Otis Elevator Company to walking Paris Haute Couture Week in less than 12 months, and your mouth is literally open right now, tap subscribe, because this channel is the only group chat tracking the full Nicolandria ascent in real time, and I am not letting you find out she just hit a Milan runway from someone's repost on your timeline. You deserve better than secondhand receipts. Tap it. The Nicolandria love story almost didn't happen, and not just once. Fate pushed Nic Vansteenberghe and Olandria Carthen together 3 separate times over 6 weeks in Fiji, and 3 separate times they chose someone else, until circumstances finally made the choice for them. Night 1 in the villa. After a twist where Ariana Madix gave every Islander the option to secretly explore another connection, Olandria kissed Nic. First night in Fiji, there was a spark from the very beginning, and then both of them walked away from it. Olandria committed to her connection with Taylor Williams. Nic eventually turned his attention towards Sierra Ortega, a 25-year-old content creator from Phoenix, Arizona, who entered as one of the season's early bombshells. Week 2 brought the Lumberjack Challenge, where Nic was already with Sierra, but every single male Islander somehow landed on Olandria's name during the exercise. When Nic and Olandria kissed during that challenge, the clip went viral. He called her sexy in his confessional. The kiss got intense enough that when the door accidentally swung open and nearly exposed the whole thing to the group, Nic physically shut it. None of that stopped him from going back to Sierra.
Week 3 brought Casa Amor, the Love Island twist where men and women are split up and a wave of new singles comes in to shake up existing couples. What nobody expected was that both Nic and Olandria got eliminated during that twist. Neither was chosen to couple up with any of the new bombshells. Producers stepped in and gave them a lifeline. Go on a date, couple up officially, or go home single. They said yes, they kissed, they coupled up, and then immediately pulled back because their connections with Sierra and Taylor were still open. The next recoupling saw Nic back with Sierra and Alandria remaining single after Taylor paired up with Clark Caraway. Alandria even told castmates there was no spark when she and Nic kissed during that date, which she has since acknowledged was not the full truth.
In the weeks that followed, even while committed to Sierra, Nic stayed in Alandria's corner. When Taylor tried to vote Alandria out of the villa, Nic stood up for her. The audience filed that away. Then, on episode 30, Sierra Ortega left the villa for personal reasons, just 1 week before the finale. Nic was suddenly single at the most critical point in the entire competition, and Alandria walked over to sit with him. They debriefed everything, all the decisions that had pulled them apart, and decided to try one more time. Alandria put it plainly to the other women afterward. We both got dumped from Casa, and now it is us again. I'm like, all right, let's see what this is actually about. Let us truly navigate this couple stuff the right way this time. Was it supposed to be us all along? Episode 30 to episode 34. 4 episodes left in the season. That is how much time they had to build something real enough for America to vote for.
Sierra Ortega's removal from the Love Island USA villa on July 7th, 2025 is part of this story, whether people want to talk about it or not. Old social media posts containing anti-Asian slurs had resurfaced, one from a 2015 Instagram story and another from a 2020 post. And as those spread across TikTok and X, pressure on Peacock's producers mounted quickly. Love Island announcer Ian Sterling told viewers that Sierra had left due to a personal reason, and that was the version given on air. Sierra subsequently addressed the situation publicly, accepting responsibility and apologizing.
The weight of that moment for Nic specifically cannot be understated. Sierra and Nic had been together for most of the season's run, and they were the only couple in the villa to have made things officially exclusive. Losing her 1 week before the finale was not a small thing. And in that moment, Olandria was the one who crossed the villa to sit with him.
Some viewers questioned afterward whether the Nicolandria romance was real or just something that happened because both of them had run out of other options. Olandria addressed that directly in her July 2025 Variety interview. Nic and I have always had a thing for each other since day one. I kissed him on day one. Just because I didn't choose to go with him does not mean that spark wasn't there. It took us some time to get to this point. The story had always existed between them. Every other connection just needed to fall away before either of them could see it clearly.
On July 11th, 2025, viewers submitted their final votes. 2 days later, on July 13th, Ariana Maddox stood in front of the 4 remaining couples in the Fiji villa and read the results. 4th place went to Iris Kendall and Jose Pepe Garcia Gonzalez. 3rd place went to Huda Mustafa and Chris Seeley. And then it came down to 2 couples, Amaya Espinal and Bryan Arenales, and Olandria Carthen and Nic Vansteenberghe.
Amaya and Bryan won. They took home the $100,000 prize, with Amaya Espinal choosing to split the money with Bryan Arenales. They made history as the first Latino couple to win Love Island USA. The audience had voted, and the trophy and the check went to Amaya.
Nic and Olandria left the villa in 2nd place, but the fandom had already been building something outside that villa that neither of them knew about, because they had no phones, no social media access, no way to see what was happening in the real world while they were in Fiji.
On their final date before the finale, producers showed them fan letters. Nic described the moment afterward. He told Elite Daily he thought he had seen maybe 4 letters that day, and hearing feelings from 4 people did not seem like a big deal. Then he got his phone back and found out the actual number submitted was something like 250,000, 250,000 fan letters, for a couple who had been officially together less than a week at the time of that date.
Quick pause, because you might have been one of those 250,000 people. You might have written a letter for a couple who was sitting in a Fiji villa with 0 phones, 0 social media, no idea you existed. And Nic thought he saw 4 letters. 4! And you contributed to 250,000. If you have ever sent fan energy into the void for Nicolandria and you are not subscribed to this channel, I genuinely don't know what to tell you. You are out here doing the work and getting none of the updates. Fix that right now. Subscribe. This is the only place breaking down every Nicolandria development the moment it drops. And after what you just heard, you have earned the full story.
That number, more than any other single data point, explains the second place finish. And the TikTok footprint backs it up. 165,000 posts carrying the Nicolandria hashtag had accumulated while they were still in the villa, with no idea any of it existed. The winning without winning argument stops being a debate the moment you look at what happened to both couples after July 13th, because the contrast is not subtle at all.
Amaya Espinal and Bryan Arenales collected their $100,000, attended the Love Island USA Season 7 reunion, filmed August 12th, aired August 25th on Peacock, co-hosted by Ariana Madix and Andy Cohen of Watch What Happens Live, and dealt with cheating rumors that had been swirling around Bryan since a club video surfaced in late July. At the reunion, Bryan called it a lapse in judgment and said he was paid to be at the club hosting. Amaya stood by him. 2 days after the reunion aired on August 27th, 2025, Amaya posted on Instagram, "My papayas, Bryan and I are no longer together. After leaving the villa, it became very clear that we were on 2 different journeys. Our visions didn't align, and relationships are supposed to be a team sport. You don't have to drink the whole sea to know it's salty." Bryan posted separately the same day, echoing the same sentiment. The winners of Love Island USA Season 7 had lasted roughly 6 weeks in the real world.
As of April 2026, Nic Vansteenberghe and Olandria Carthen are still together. Don't like this video? Genuinely don't. Stay team, the winners definitely stayed together. Keep that energy. Go find out from someone else that Amaya posted, "You don't have to drink the whole sea to know it's salty," 2 days after the reunion aired, while Nicolandria is still standing in April 2026. I dare you to scroll past that like button. And drop in the comments, did you see the Amaya and Bryan split coming at the reunion, or did you believe them when they shut down the cheating rumors live on camera with Andy Cohen? Because I have thoughts. The post-show careers tell that story in numbers. Nic left the Fiji villa and landed at 1.9 million Instagram followers. His TikTok grew to 2.4 million followers with 52.5 million likes. Before Love Island USA, he had been DJing as an amateur for about 4 years, and the show turned that into a full professional career with representation from Brink Entertainment for DJing and music bookings. His remix with artist Washevo hit 2 million Spotify streams as of April 2026, and between April 24th and August 7th, 2026, he is on his first full DJ tour across 8 North American cities.
Olandria's trajectory ran parallel and then some. From 13,100 Instagram followers before the show to approximately 2 million by mid-2025. The woman who sold elevators at Otis Elevator Company became a full-time model, influencer, and television personality. She signed with Digital Brand Architects, the management firm owned by United Talent Agency. Brand partnerships followed with Amazon, Visa, Hyundai, Aveeno, Vaseline, Yves Saint Laurent, and Sephora. She was the face of Barbie's You Can Be Any Barbie campaign at Coachella, the face of UGG's 2025 Fluff Mama global campaign, and part of the Reebok Angel Reese 1 campaign. Ad Age named her one of the top 5 breakout creators of 2025. Cosmopolitan included her in the Z-Stars class of 2025. The Ebony Power 100 Gala gave her their People's Choice Award. The Root 100 and Revolt's Power List both listed her.
In September 2025, she made her runway debut at the Sergio Hudson Spring-Summer 2026 show during New York Fashion Week. Vogue covered her red carpet debut at the 2025 MTV VMAs. The December 2025 Glamour holiday cover featured both of them, the cover story titled The Year of Nicolandria. That same month, Alandria's solo magazine cover debut ran in Harper's Bazaar, Vietnam. January 2026 brought Paris Haute Couture Week. February 2026 was Milan Fashion Week. 3 of the 4 major international fashion weeks in just months, starting from a woman who had 13,100 Instagram followers when the season premiered. She made her Sports Illustrated swimsuit debut in 2026, walked the red carpet at the 83rd Golden Globe Awards, and attended the Vanity Fair Oscar party.
Both of them attended the Glamour Women of the Year Awards in 2025. Both appeared on Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen. In 2026, they took part in the Ruffles NBA All-Star Celebrity Game together. And in December 2025, during a Kim Kardashian Skims TikTok livestream, Kim's 12-year-old daughter Northwest got on a video call with Nic and asked him point blank, "Did you break up with Alandria?" His answer was immediate. "No, I didn't. Nicolandria 4L.
Before May 4th, before Vulture published anything, the "Is Nicolandria actually real?" conversation had already been running in the background for months. TikTok, Twitter, fan accounts. The theory that the relationship was a PR arrangement had been circulating since they left the villa, and the logic followed a familiar pattern. When a reality TV couple becomes this commercially successful this quickly, the financial incentive for maintaining the relationship starts to look like a possible explanation for it.
Nic and Olandria had pushed back on this before. In July 2025, Olandria told Variety, "Nic and I have always had a thing for each other since day one. Just because I didn't choose to go with him does not mean that spark wasn't there." Nic told Today.com the same month, "Every decision we've made has led us to here, and I wouldn't change anything about that." They had also been maintaining a long-distance relationship, Olandria in Houston, Nic in Jacksonville, 2.5 hours apart by air, but almost never in the same city, given how busy both of them had become since the show.
What Vulture did on May 4th was not start that conversation. The conversation was already happening, but the outlet added something specific to it: institutional credibility, and a particular word choice that Nic was not willing to let pass. On May 4th, 2026, Vulture published a piece highlighting the biggest reality TV stars of 2026. Nic Vansteenberghe was included. He flew to New York, posed for photos, got photographed half naked by his own later account, shook hands, smiled, and participated in good faith. Here is what Vulture actually wrote. The piece described Vansteenberghe's success as rooted in his ability to pivot, saying he could tell which way the island wind was blowing and adapt, from ladies' man to yearning, twerking boy next door, as early couple turnover called for it. Then came the line that set everything off. By the middle of the season, the fandom had coalesced around pairing him with co-star Olandria Carthen. Never mind that they didn't seem to be more than friendly colleagues at first. Vansteenberghe leaned into the role of person in love with Alandria with comfort and poise. Though they were not technically the season's winners, Nicolandria, who are still together, were the runaway victors in all the ways that actually count: fan fondness and sponsorship deals. Vansteenberghe is now pursuing that most tried-and-true reality side hustle, DJ for hire. The word role is doing enormous work in that passage. Not feelings, not connection, role, as in a character being performed. The article acknowledges they're still together, then immediately frames the real victories as fan fondness and sponsorship deals, positioning the relationship as the vehicle rather than the destination. And the DJ detail, depending on how generously you read it, lands somewhere between neutral and dismissive. This from a man with 2 million Spotify streams, a Brink Entertainment deal, and a full
8-city North American tour booked. None of the individual facts are wrong. Nic did pivot within the show. The fandom did coalesce around Nicolandria. They did not win the $100,000. The brand deals are real. He does DJ. But the arrangement of those facts tells a story. And the story Vulture told was this guy read the room, played a part, and built a brand around it. That framing sits in direct conflict with everything this couple has been demonstrating publicly since July 14th.
The response came on Threads, and nothing about it was managed or measured. Dear Vulture magazine, I fly all the way to New York, where you ask me to be photographed half naked, and you smile and shake my hand, and then write something like that? That was the post. Then, I'm sure I'll be told to not speak up about this. That second sentence tells you exactly what was going through his head when he typed it. He knew, even as he was posting, that speaking up might not be the recommended move from a career management standpoint. Someone might advise him to stay quiet, to let it go, to not draw more attention to the article. He posted anyway, in real time, from a place of genuine irritation, not strategy.
And here's the thing. That reaction is actually inconsistent with the portrait Vulture painted. A person who has been coldly calculating every element of his public persona for a year does not snap at a major media outlet on Threads. A person running a strategic relationship performance goes through a publicist. Nic drafted nothing, cleared it with nobody, and said exactly what he was feeling in the moment, which was that he felt disrespected by someone who had smiled at him earlier that same week.
In an exclusive with Elite Daily, both of them addressed the fake relationship narrative directly, the Vulture framing, and the broader online skepticism that had been building for months. Alandria's argument centered on family, and it's hard to argue with the logic. I don't know why you would think we would purposely get our families involved. We would not take it this far if it was fake. My mom really does like Nic, and Nic's mom really does like me. Why would we get their hopes up for something that we know is not real? That's weird. It is real. You can't fake that.
That argument works because it's specific and difficult to explain away. A PR relationship does not require both sets of parents to be emotionally invested. Bringing your actual mother, Jennifer Becker Vansteenberghe, a board-certified physician assistant, into a fake relationship is not a move anyone with a functioning PR strategy would make. The family involvement introduces a real emotional cost that a business arrangement wouldn't absorb.
That response lines up with everything else he said publicly throughout the post-show period.
Nicolandria 4L to Northwest on a Skims TikTok livestream. A dinner in Greece, cited as his favorite normal outing since leaving the villa. Showing up to a Love Island Beyond the Villa Season 2 episode they had largely skipped just to update people on where the relationship stands. These are not the talking points of someone maintaining a brand arrangement.
A few days after the Vulture situation, Nic appeared on Love Island Beyond the Villa Season 2, which had filmed from early November 2025 through January 2026, in which he and Alandria had mostly opted out of. His showing up registered immediately with the audience. Sitting with TJ Palma, another Season 7 Islander, also navigating a long-distance relationship with Iris Kendall, Nic described the unglamorous logistics of trying to maintain something real when both people are constantly moving. She's in Houston, so it's only 2.5 hours away, but at the same time, it's like she is never in Houston, and I'm never in Florida. No brand deal language in that sentence. No performance. Just two people actively trying to make something work inside an extremely loud new life.
Fan reactions in the comments captured what a year of watching this couple had done to the people invested in them. Nic showed up to say he and his girl are still together, booked and busy and tired of parasocial weirdos. I love that for him. The people who had been rooting for Nicolandria since the blindfold kiss on day 1 were not moved by Vulture's framing. They had the receipts from episode 1. A media outlet's word choices were not going to overwrite what they had watched with their own eyes.
The uncomfortable question at the center of all of this does not have a clean answer, and pretending otherwise would be dishonest.
Vulture's framing was provocative, but it was also gesturing at something genuinely complicated about reality TV relationships. Specifically, that the line between authentic emotion and performed emotion gets hard to locate when cameras roll 24/7, when producers can arrange dates and ultimatums, and when a massive fandom is actively cheering for a specific pairing.
Nic was aware the audience loved Nicolandria. Ariana Madix said on Aftersun she wished they had gotten another chance before they officially coupled up. NBC Universal's own data shows 18.4 billion streaming minutes across 6 weeks. This was not a small show. This was the most watched Peacock original in the platform's history, and the Nicolandria fanbase was a significant engine of that viewership. Producers brought both of them back after Casa Amor with an ultimatum specifically designed to give them that chance. The fandom's investment was visible, loud, and constant.
None of that automatically makes the feelings fake, and that's the distinction Nic and Olandria have been drawing consistently. The fandom shipped them, production gave them opportunities, and the sponsorship deals are real. None of that is in dispute. Their argument is that underneath all of it, two people kissed on day one and kept finding each other regardless of who else was in the picture, and that those feelings were genuine, whether or not the circumstances were convenient.
Nic and I have always had a thing for each other since day one, Olandria said. Just because I didn't choose to go with him does not mean that spark wasn't there. Nic's version to Today.com. Every decision we've made has led us to here, and I wouldn't change anything about that. Consistently, across different interviews, with their families involved, on vacation together, on the Glamour December 2025 cover together, at Fashion Weeks together, the same story for close to a year. Vulture published a piece calling Nic Vansteenberghe's relationship with Olandria Carthen a strategic performance, a role he leaned into because the fandom wanted it and the sponsorship deals followed. They published it after inviting him to New York, photographing him, and shaking his hand. Nic responded the way someone responds when they feel genuinely blindsided. Not through a publicist, not with a polished statement, but on threads, in real time, saying exactly what he felt.
And the couple's record over the past year tells the fuller story. Amaya Espinal and Bryan Arenales won Love Island USA Season 7 on July 13th, collected the $100,000, attended the August 25th reunion, and announced their split on August 27th, 2 days after that reunion aired. The Season 7 winners lasted 6 weeks in the real world. Nic Vansteenberghe and Olandria Carthen, as of April 2026, are still together, still building. 1.9 million Instagram followers, 2 million Spotify streams, an 8-city DJ tour, Sports Illustrated swimsuit, the 83rd Golden Globe Awards red carpet, Paris Haute Couture Week, and a dinner in Greece that Nic cites as his favorite normal moment since walking out of that Fiji villa on July 14th.
Vulture's framing was not entirely without basis. Reality TV does blur the line between authenticity and performance. Economic incentives do exist, and fan pressure does shape behavior on those shows. All of that is real. But the specific claim that Nic was playing a role in his relationship with Alandria is one they've both rejected clearly, consistently, for the better part of a year. That is what actually happened.
And before you go, Nic has a full 8-city North American DJ tour running through August 7th, 2026. Olandria has been hitting fashion weeks on 3 continents, and this channel has the full breakdown of every other Season 7 storyline coming. Huda and Chris, Amaya unpacking the Bryan breakup on Beyond the Villa, Clark and Taylor's situation, all of it. If you don't subscribe right now, I will be forced to let the Vulture magazine editorial team run my channel, and none of you want that. You will come back here in 2 weeks and every video will be titled Vansteenberghe's Strategic Pivot, a masterclass in island wind direction. Subscribe. I'm serious. The Nicolandria saga is not over.